Hello everyone, my name is Divya and today we will do Nomadic Empire, in which we will study about the history of Mongols and how this empire at its peak was able to control up to 12 million square miles of land. That's insane, right? So when we think about Mongols, what comes to our mind? Steppe dwellers, travel looking people, lot of horses, killing people mercilessly, right? So we imagine Mongols stereotypically barbarians, right? And that's not entirely wrong also, because they were very cruel and they were known for killing millions of people and slaughtering whole town, not even sparing cats and dogs. The Mongol Empire lasted from 1206 to 1368. It expanded to cover most of the Eurasia, and despite its reputation for brutal warfare, the Mongol Empire did at some point, briefly enable peace, stability, trade, and protected travel. And it all happened because of their advanced technology and a massive horde of nomadic warriors. Since the chapter name is Nomadic Empire, so who are nomads? These are the people who have no fixed residence and they move from one place to another, usually seasonally and within a well-defined territory. It is a food extracting economy where the entire community is dependent on its herd for the supply of food, and distinct form of social and political organization evolved or were brought into being in response to the demand of this type of economic activity and the nature of interaction of the nomads with their sedentary neighbors. Okay, so what are the sedentary neighbors? Sedentary means a settled lifestyle, right? Like unlike nomads who are always like moving, sedentary people who have a settled lifestyle. Okay, so nomadism is basically a seasonal movement of people with its economy based in pastoralism. And it doesn't mean that nomads, they just go on a random road trips or just moving aimlessly. No, they move according to climate condition so they can feed their flocks. Nomads, they could never exist on their own without the outside world and its non-nomadic societies, because they do not generally produce manufactured goods, which means that they need to trade. So they always live near settled people and generally close to nature. If we talk about the empire, the notion of empire, then it is very much different from kingdom, right? Like unlike kingdom, empires, they have a large land mass and they needed to integrate both the various local cultures within the empire and also the various key regions, right? And rulers also, they have to solidify their legitimacy by building impressive capitals and fielding impressive armies. So the nomadic empire can be defined as a society, a nomadic society organized on the military hierarchical principle, occupying quite large areas and exploiting nearby territories as a rule by external forms of exploitation like robbery, exhaustion of presence and raids, etc. So if we talk about the sources for Mongol history and the literature, then we don't have much of it, because the Mongols themselves usually produced no literature. So our knowledge of nomadic society is really less. Like, have you ever come across any literature which is written or which was written by tribal people? No, you never have such history, right? So, and mostly the account on Mongols comes from chronicles and travelogues and documents, right, produced by basically city based literature. So these reports are, however, very biased and extremely ignorant, because some accounts eulogize them, that they were really good and it was the biggest empire and all that. Then there are some accounts that totally demean them. They are like, for them they are like the worst people, right? So yeah, so if we talk about accounts on which we can rely, then there is this Secret History of Mongol, and also the travelogue of Marco Polo, which gives a very good, decent account of Mongol Empire. Mongols, they were the nomadic pastoralists. They came from Mongolia, and they were the member of Central Asian ethnographic group of closely related tribal people who mainly lived on the northeastern highland region of the Great Plateau of Central Asia, which covers an area of approximately 1 million square miles in East Central Asia. And this place, this place is wild. It's very big and wild, because it was high in elevation and it gets super dry, cold in winter, and super hot in summer. So it was not good for agriculture, but you can definitely farm animals, right? Mongols, they hung out in the foothills bordering the Siberian forest, hunting and herding, and quietly getting really good at archery and horse riding. The Mongols, they were, if in comparison to the other tribes like Tatars and the Eurasians, they were very small. Although the Mongol clan was smaller, but still they became quite famous. And the reason why they became so famous is because of one person, and that was Chingas Khan. So the boy who had became Chingas Khan was called Tamujin. He was only 9 years old when his father was poisoned to death by a tribal group who were rival to them. And so as an elder son, Tamujin grew up to lead what was little more than an extended family, right? And on the steppe, which was the great open grassland of Mongolia, a small tribe was both weak and vulnerable. So Tamujin knew that he has to forge link with other tribes, and there was only one way that he could do that, and that was marriage. So when he was 19-year old, he was married to a woman called Borte, and however, wife stealing was very common on steppe. Temujin's wife was also kidnapped, and in rescuing his wife, Tamujin showed his military mettle and soon became the leader of his tribe. Chingas Khan wanted to unite the tribal people, which nobody ever did before, and because it was not an easy task, because uniting Mongols' confederation required a civil war, but he was able to do it due to his two very most important innovation. First, that he promoted people based on merit rather than a family position, because there is this thing recorded in Secret History of Mongol that according to Chingas Khan, warriors does not win battle by virtue of his birth, right? So anyone, even if he belongs to a very lowly class, he can promoted on his merit. And the second thing that he did was that he brought lower classes of conquered people into his own tribe while dispossessing the leader of the conquered clans. He won the loyalty of more and more number of people, and in 1206 he was declared the great Khan, the leader of all the Mongols. So after uniting the Mongols, Chingas Khan went on to conquer a lot of territory, By the time he died in 1227, his empire stretched from the Mongol homeland in Mongolia all the way to the Caspian Sea. If we talk about the conquest and expedition of Chinggis Khan, then the first of his concern was to conquer China, because China at that time was the vast and the most powerful empire. So, and also it was divided into three realms, that is the Shia dynasty in the northwestern province, Qin dynasty ruled into the North China, and the Shung dynasty into the South China. So they were really powerful. So by 1209, the Shishias, they were defeated by the Chinggis Khan. Also the Great Wall of China that nobody was able to breach, was devastated in 1213, and the Beijing, it was like the sight was very cruel to see, because thousands, millions of people were killed and slaughtered. So a long drawn battle against China continued until 1234, but Chinggis Khan was satisfied enough with the progress of his campaign to return to his Mongolia after that. So after the conquest of China, Chinggis Khan thought that it's good to expand the trade with other countries also, right? So he sent one of his ambassadors to the Persian court. After some time, what came into return? The head of that ambassador, the Sultan Muhammad, the ruler of Khwarezm, he executed the Mongol ambassador. Now, of course, it means that the Mongol invasion into Persia, right? And that what happened? In the campaign between 1219 and 1221, the great cities, Otrar, Bukhara, Samarkand, Balkh, Merv, Nishapur and Herat, they were like devastated and surrendered to the Mongol forces. And the towns that resisted were devastated by the Mongols. For example, at the capture of the Nishapur in 1220, 17,47,000 people were killed. They were massacred. At Herat, they were like 1,006,000 people were like slaughtered. And in Baghdad, around 8 lakh people were killed. So that is why people call Chinggis Khan cruel, right? Now Sultan Muhammad fled, due to fear of Mongols. So Mongol forces in pursuit of Sultan Muhammad pushed into Azerbaijan and defeated Russian forces. Another wing of Mongol army, followed the Sultan's son Jalaluddin into Afghanistan and Sindh provinces. हमारा इंडिया बच गया चिंगेज खान के कहर से, क्योंकि उसको दोबारा मंगोलिया जाना था थ्रू नॉर्थ साइड ऑफ आवर कंट्री, आसाम से होते हुए. बट थैंक्स टू दैट सामन सूदसेयर, जिसने कहा कि देखो आपके लिए अच्छा नहीं होगा यहाँ से जाना. सो वो फिर नहीं आया इंडिया से, हम लोग बच गए. Now the question arises that how Chinggis Khan and its army were able to defeat all these powers, because compared to the foot soldiers and the knights and the generals and commanders they were up against, they were nothing, right? But still they were able to defeat China, Persia, Russia. How? The Mongols succeeded primarily because of their military skills. Chinggis Khan army, which never numbered more than 130,000, was built on speed and archery. Mongols mounted archers was like super fast tanks, and they were really good at horses and throwing arcs. So even though they never saw a castle before they started raiding, they become expert at siege warfare by just interrogating prisoners and getting information. That's it. All these conquests and expeditions. In 1227, Chinggis Khan died, एंड आपको पता है कि आज तक किसी को ये बात पता नहीं है कि चिंगेज खान की बॉडी को कहाँ दफनाया गया था, बिकॉज इट इज सेड दैट द पीपल हु वर इन्वॉल्व्ड ड्यूरिंग हिज फ्यूनरल they were all killed so that it remains secret that where his body is buried. So till date we don't know, we couldn't find the site where his body is, right? If we talk about the achievements of Chinggis Khan, then it was all because of his military, right? And the way he organized his army. He made great efforts to organize the army. Strict discipline was maintained in the army. He improved and restructured it and blended the typical skill of the tribe with the, army. So the horse riding skills of the Mongols and the Turks provided speed and mobility, and also their abilities as a rapid shooting archers from horseback was further perfected during regular hunting expeditions, which double their chance of victory over the enemies. Also, if we talk about the trainings and preparations they did, it was also very immense. Like the steppe cavalry, they always travel light, but now it brought all its knowledge of the terrain. So they carried out campaign in the depth of winter, treating frozen rivers as highway to enemy cities and camps. He also learned the importance. After the death of Chinggis Khan, his sons and grandsons, they expanded the empire. The Mongol expansion after Chinggis Khan's death can be divided into two distinct phases. The first, which spanned from 1236 to 42, when the major gains were in the Russian steppes, Bulgaria, Poland and Hungary were captured. And the second phase was from the year 1250 to 1300 that led to the conquest of China, Iran, Iraq and Syria. Chinggis Khan's son Odegai Khan expanded the empire even more, and his grandson Mongke was the great Khan. In 1258, Baghdad, the capital of Abbasid, was fell to the Mongols, and also Chinggis Khan, another grandson, Kublai Khan, conquered the Sung dynasty of China in 1279. And if the Mamluks had not stopped the Mongols, then they would have taken North Africa also. But unfortunately for the Mongols, they were not always working together, because Khan failed to create a single political unit out of his conquest. And after Chinggis Khan's death, the Mongols were left divided. So the Mongols after Chinggis Khan was divided into 4 empires called Khanates. You can see the map. It's not very much accurate, but still you can get an idea. So these are the empires of the Mongols. This is the empire of the Yuan in China. Then we have Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia, Il Khanate in Iran, then the Khanate of Golden Horde in Russia. So you can see that such a large empire that they had made, right? It's really big. But Mongols can do it because they were the exceptions. Talk about the political organization, then the civil system was basically based on the Ulus or Yulus system. Chinggis Khan assigned the responsibility of governing the newly conquered people to his 4 sons. So the eldest son Jochi, he received the Russian steppe. The second son Chagatai, he was given the Transoxiana steppe. The third son, which was Ogodoi, he was succeeded him as the great Khan, and he established his capital in Karakorum. The youngest son, who was Tholoi, received the ancestral land of Mongolia. And taxes also, which were levied, for example, the Kupko Tax, it was levied from the Mongol nomads for the maintenance of the communication system, in which the Mongol nomads, they have to give 10th of their herds, either horses or livestock, and it was willingly, it was like not taken very forcefully. They used to pay it willingly for the multiple benefits that the yam has brought to them. Also, communications and ease of travel was very vital. So travelers and the traders, they had to pay this tax called Baz tax, and also acknowledge the authority of the Mongol Khan. Then the territory linking was also important. Once the campaign had settled, Europe and China were territorially, linked with Mongolia, and commerce and travel along the Silk route reached its peak under the Mongols, but the trade route extended up to Mongolia only. One very important thing that need to be emphasized was the legal code of law called yasa, which was made by Chingas Khan at the assembly of the Mongol in 1206. It was basically the law, decree, or order which was concerned about the administrative regulations, the organization of the hunts or the army and the postal system. So the yasa was basically the compilation of the customary tradition of the Mongol tribes, and it was called, Chingas Khan's code of law. Mongols also forcibly relocates people who were useful to them. For example, musicians and writers, and especially the administrators, because they were not much for administration tasks like keeping records and all that. So they used to find people who were good at those stuffs and just move them around the empire. However, the empire did not last much, and within 80 years they would left China and was replaced by Ming Dynasty. And also in Persia, they blended so well that by the 15th century they were totally unrecognizable. However, for the Mongols, Chingas Khan was the greatest leader who united Mongol tribal people and also freed them from the Chinese exploitation. Chingas Khan thrown out the old tribal divisions and tried to unite them. Also, he did a lot of innovation in army organization, what we call a modern army, right? And he also restored trade routes and markets, which attracted a lot of people from the distant areas. Mongols let all religion flourish. Chingas Khan ruled over the diverse body of people and faith. And Mongols, they were themselves belonged to, variety of different faiths. For example, Buddhist, shamans, Christians, and also Islam. But they never let their personal belief dictate, public policy. If you guys like this video, then please subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and also hit the like button. Bye.